I spent some time in Perth with my friend Umang talking about Aerosmith. Hey guys, so we're here in Perth. This is my friend Umang, and we're here to talk about our passion for Aerosmith. So how are you doing tonight? Tell me about that.
Oh, I am doing very well tonight.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know a little bit about your story, your personal fan story. What happened? How did you really got into this fanatism at this level, at least, for Aerosmith?
I think Aerosmith for me is the greatest rock band on planet Earth. Not only do they rock, their songs are so smart, their lyrics are so clever, the music is so melodious, all of them play so passionately, and the best thing is the chemistry between the five members, especially when you see them on stage, you know, if you see them once, you are hooked. And I think people don't realize this until they've met the five guys in the band, especially Steven. I know that there are five members in the band and all of them are talented in their own way, but the lead singer usually takes all the credit or the attention. But Steven, if anybody's met him, he makes every fan feel so special that once you meet Steven or any of the five guys, forget the music, you're just hooked onto them as their personalities are just so, you know, charismatic.
I mean, yeah, I totally identify with that, what you're saying. In my case, it was the music first, because I didn't get to see the band live for the first 15 years of my fanatism.
Actually, I was the same, but I would, you know, download songs on Napster, on Morpheus, on all those things, and I was downloading bootlegs of live concerts and just imagining, oh, how would it be to be at a show? And, you know, they'd announce the tour of the Nine Lives tour, the Just Was Play tour, and I'd be like, oh, if I could go to this show, I wish they would open with this song, and, you know, then they'd play Love in an Elevator, the second song, and, you know, from the new album, play Light Inside, and, you know, I wish they would play Woman from the World, and have all these fantasies, and, you know, if I meet them, what will I say to Steven, what will I say to Joe,
same thing.
All those things.
Which song or which album was your album, which really introduced you and converted you
two-part
into
answer.
Forever fan?
One, I saw very clearly, I can remember seeing the video for Cryin on MTV, and this must have been like 94, 95. And I saw the video, and you see Alicia Silverstone, and you see the band, and you see Steven, and his face is, you know, it's kind of like, oh, what is this guy? And it just made me think, and the name Aerosmith sounded so cool that in my head it was like, oh, there's this cool band called Aerosmith. And then one day I was like, I need to buy some new album, check out some new music. So I was like, I want to buy something Aerosmith, and I bought Nine Lives, and till today Nine Lives is my favorite album.
Likewise, I mean, I think I also started listening to Aerosmith probably in the same Get a Grip, big ones, 93, 95 era. But I really got hooked with Nine Lives for sure. And when Don't Wanna Miss a Thing, the next year came out, it was just like, okay, this is done. I got a friend who I borrowed a few of the original CDs from a friend. I got copies. You know, at the time I couldn't really afford any of the albums, so it was MP3s. But later on in my life is that I felt the need to really buy the official albums and in a way pay back.
Exactly. Pay our dues.
Pay our dues.
But I was going to tell you a funny story. So this was, we both got into it in the Geffen Nine Lives era. And I was like, okay, on MTV I saw the videos for Dude, Crazy, Cryin, Eat the Rich, Ragdoll, Love in an Elevator. And I was like, oh, this band is so phenomenal. At this point, I only had Nine Lives. So I was like, I should buy another album. So I went to the store and I saw this red album, Aerosmith's Greatest Hits. And I looked at it and I'm like, they made a Greatest Hits album and it doesn't have Pink, it doesn't have Cryin, it doesn't have Elevator, it doesn't have Dude Looks Like a Lady. How good must this band be that they don't include these songs on their Greatest Hits album? And you know, that was the second album I bought, and that introduced me to their 70s era, the first era.
So a lot of years had to pass by from the beginning that you were nurturing yourself with the music, and you have a really deep knowledge and understanding and appreciation, and you also do a little bit of research in terms of what the song and the lyrics mean, and you learn how to play the guitar and all of those songs. But I'm guessing a decade and a half, 15 years maybe later, that you got to see them live for the first time. Tell me a little about that first experience.
So my first experience was actually the experience happened because when Aerosmith went on their world tour, they did a world tour in 2007, 8, I think. And they went everywhere. They played a show in South Africa.
Yeah.
They played a show in Dubai. They even played a show in India.
I know, I remember. And they did
I was
Taste
like,
of India.
when are they going to announce the Australian leg? And they finished the tour, and the tour was over, and there was no Australian date. And I was like, if they're not going to come to Australia on their world tour, they're never going to come. So I have to go see them. At that point, living in Australia, the obvious choice was I'll go to Japan. So then the next Japanese tour they announced, 2011, I said I'm going. And they played 8 shows, and I was like, I'm only going to do this once in my life. So I'll see as many shows as I can. And I thought I'd see 6 shows, and I did. And obviously I was wrong when I said I'll only do it once in my life.
Yeah, I feel you. But you are a very knowledgeable and passionate fan who's had the luck to meet the band multiple times. Tell me, what's the trick, and do you always need to be borderline stalker to meet them?
No, what's stalker?
Stalker.
Oh, stalker. No, so I'm not a stalker at all. Some people are. Some people accuse me of being a stalker.
But you know the ways. You know the ways.
So I've been very lucky sometimes. And some other times it was like, I'll make a little effort, because you can't achieve anything without making some effort.
Yes, ask good questions.
Yeah. So, generally, actually, like I'll tell you a time when I was super lucky. This was in Helsinki in Finland, and I had a very early morning flight. I'd flown from Singapore directly to Helsinki, and I caught one of those airport shuttle buses. It was super early in the morning, and I reached my hotel at 7 a.m. and they told me you can't check in this early, so leave your bags. I couldn't have a shower or anything, so I was dirty, so tired after such a long travel. It was cold, it was wet. I was like, I can't do anything. I'm going to take a walk. And Helsinki is like a slow town. So anyway, I walked to the foreshore, the port, and I had some, traditional Finland crackers with this salmon soup. And I was like passing my time. And then I walked back, and I was walking down the main street in Helsinki. It's just a small town, city. And there were all these fans standing, and I saw them in their black jackets and the long hair, and I'm like, they are rock fans. And I don't know how many rock bands would be in town today, so I asked someone, are you here for Aerosmith? And they were like, yeah. And as soon as he said that, Steven Tyler came out of the hotel, and he was there with Calvin and with...
Who's Calvin?
Calvin was his assistant, and Amy was his assistant. And his girlfriend. So the two of them came out. I don't know what they were doing. They were looking kind of wild and, on an adventure. I'm pretty sure Calvin was holding like a pillowcase full of old clothes. And I don't know if they were going to find a laundry or they were going to give Steven's old clothes to some, like a homeless person or Joe Perry. But they came out, and Steven was like in a super happy mood or whatever. And I have met Steven before, so I generally let other fans do their stuff, and I don't want a photo or an autograph. So then when he's done, then I go and say hi. So I went and said hi. And I was wearing this jacket I have with flags of every country I've seen Aerosmith in. And Steven had actually signed one of those flags before, and I showed Steven, look, I've been to all these countries, and he signed this one. And Steven was like, hey man, do you mind if I sign all the others? And I was like, go for it. So then he was like, does someone have a pen? Does someone have a marker? And then someone gave him a marker, and he signed every single flag. And somebody else took photos on the street, that I'm standing with Steven. All these fans are standing, and then Steven is just standing and signing all my autographs. So, I've had so many really fun experiences like this without trying to find the band. The band just came.
And I guess at some point you started meeting friends, other fans from around the world, including me. There was a little bit of a sense of a community international that you reconnect every time that the tour gets started or announced at least. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I remember
those ongoing friendships.
So my first show ever, I got there, and it was very cool, to be in that atmosphere. And then it was in Japan, in Hiroshima, and there were all these Japanese fans, and I could see around the catwalk that this guy is saying, hey Ichiro, and this one's like, hey Nobu, and everybody kind of knew each other. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, all of them know each other. And then by the end of that tour, everybody knew me. And then thanks to Facebook, I stayed in touch. And then the next tour, I was like, oh, I know you and I know you. And then by, 5-6 years later, I knew so many people. And then again, the Facebook community is so strong that so many times, I remember in Brazil, I saw somebody, I'm like, hey, and we had just been friends on Facebook and we'd never even spoken on Facebook, and he couldn't speak English and I couldn't speak Portuguese, but we just knew each other and we shared the language of Aerosmith.
So it sounds like you've been watching Aerosmith live all around the world. I've only seen them on a couple of countries, but can you tell me, I mean, how many countries have you traveled because of Aerosmith?
Yeah, so I've seen them in Japan a couple of tours and USA 3 tours. USA East Coast and West Coast, and then I saw them in Australia, and in Europe I've seen them in Finland, Sweden, Poland, Germany, Italy, Spain and England, and in South America I saw them in Peru, your homeland where we first met, and Brazil and in Argentina. So actually I like to think about this because a lot of your viewers would be Spanish speaking. I always watch La Casa de Papel or Money Heist in English. I'm like, oh, I saw them in Berlin, I saw them in Tokyo, I saw them in Helsinki, in Stockholm. All the characters of that show, like half of them, I saw them in those cities, Rio.
Oh, they were actually so random. Oh, that's awesome, man. And now I know you've been working on an international collaboration Aerosmith cover project that's happening around the world, different cities, different times, different years, different tours. How did you get hooked into this project that I like to call ReconnectAndo? And this is a part of ReconnectAndo focusing on Aerosmith. This is part 2 or 3, I think. It's a lot of fun, but how did you join us and what has your experience been?
So this has been a really fun experience for me because not only, I mean, I'm a fan of the music more than anything else, and because I play guitar and I sing, I really love to play Aerosmith songs and sing Aerosmith songs. And my experience living in Australia has been that Aussies, they love AC/DC, they love Guns N' Roses, they love Metallica, but for some reason they don't have that same love of Aerosmith. Aerosmith is super big in the US and they're big in South America, in Japan, in Europe, in England, but for some reason they never got big here. So whenever I've jammed with friends, nobody knows a single Aerosmith song. They might be able to, play this, but that's it. So they don't know anything more than that. And I'd go for an open jam session or whatever, and I'd be like, do you know any Aerosmith song? And blanks. The drummer doesn't know even basic songs like Cryin, or they don't know anything. So for me to find you and everyone else in the group who not only do they know Aerosmith songs, but they know them really well and they know obscure songs.
Passionate, they're passionate about it. They know the obscure B-sides, album songs, like Attitude Adjustment or 9 Lives or what the hell.
I feel like, so we struggled. We struggled to find a bass player. And then I went on YouTube and I was looking and I found this guy, Thales Macedo from Brazil. And he had done only one Aerosmith cover, but the cover was for Ain't That a Bitch.
Yeah, which is very...
And maybe he had a cover for Full Circle as well. But it was like, not only is this guy such a good bass player, but he's such a big Aerosmith fan that he's covered these obscure songs. So it was just like, finding someone on YouTube. And
it's hard to find a fan who's a musician who actually knows the songs properly, or at least very close to. I know we have discrepancies on how to play a particular chord.
But I think that is part of the fun as well.
That is part of the fun,
and then so many times, you play the same thing and it's correct, and I play the same thing and it's correct, but we're playing in different ways. So then when we play it together, it sounds like Joe and Brad.
Or sometimes we're playing the wrong theme, but we think it's the correct one because we learned how to play it in the 90s.
And sometimes we both played incorrectly because we both learned it from the same incorrect guitar tab.
The internet can be trusted. That's so funny. All right, so. Have you joined a lot of those projects, and are you joining a few more?
So my most fun project that I did with your group was I really liked to do Hangman Jury because it really let me rock out. I really liked Seasons of Wither because I have an amp back here and I play it at bedroom volumes, but for this I needed to do feedback, so it was like, turn it up all the way, gain high, and then just get that feedback. So for me that was really fun. And so many songs that forced me to learn them start to finish, and forced me to fix parts which I was playing incorrectly all these years and learn it the correct way. Like on Seasons of Wither, one part I was playing it incorrectly all the time, and then you told me, and then I'm like, no man, I'm sure I'm playing it right. And then I heard it again, and then like, oh yeah, what Gonzo is saying makes sense.
Opinions.
Yeah.
But you're a particularly almost famous Aerosmith fan, I would say, because you've been on TV as a guest, because of your knowledge of Aerosmith. You've been able to sing with Steven Tyler on his mic, at least live on the show, which is something that not many fans can say, and I was particularly impressed about that one because it would be my dream to sing something with Steven. Yeah. What else have you done?
I was very lucky. I got to play Joe Perry's guitar on stage. No, it was his signature. It was his white Strat, which is actually a Jeff Beck signature model. I was very lucky. It was at the end of the catwalk. My friend, who was Joe's guitar tech, was doing a sound check, and he was just playing this, and he was testing. If you know Joe, when he's walking around, he doesn't wear in-ear monitors, so he has monitors set up everywhere. So he was walking around checking that the wireless signal is strong and the monitors are loud, and he was playing it, and then suddenly he took off the guitar and he gave it to me, and he said, give me your camera. How you doing tonight? He said, give me the camera, and I was like, shit. Not only was it so surreal and I was totally unprepared, but the amps were so loud, and I knew Steven and Joe were backstage, so I'm like, whatever I play, they're going to be able to hear it. And I was just able to play, like 2 bars of same old song and dance. And I was like, okay, this is enough. Surreal experience. And so Tracy said to me, oh, you're super lucky. Very few people except Joe Perry and Jimmy Crespo have played this rig.
Wow. And tell me the story about how you ended up on Australian national television.
Okay. So there's a show called Mastermind, and I used to watch it. So it's a show, if you haven't seen it, it's a show from England. It's a BBC show, but it's spread to all the Commonwealth countries. I think maybe they have it in America as well. But the concept of the show is based on Nazi interrogation techniques. So they make you sit in a black chair, and the whole room is black, and there's one spotlight on your face and one spotlight on the Quizmaster's face, and basically you have to answer as many questions as you can in a fixed amount of time. There are no clues, there is no discussing options, there are no options, there are no lifelines. They ask you a question, you answer it, you have to answer as many as you can, and there are generally 2 rounds. So one is a general knowledge round, and the other is a specialty subject. So you can tell them whatever your specialty subject is. You can say, oh, my specialty subject is the Die Hard movies, or my specialty subject is the life of John F. Kennedy. So you can tell them anything, and they will research that subject and ask you like very specific questions. So for me, for many years, I was like, I should go on the show and my specialty subject will be Aerosmith. So I got called to go on the show, and because the show was in Australia and I wasn't born in Australia, I thought that okay, in the general knowledge round, 50% of the questions are Australian, so that I'm not going to do well on that. I just want to do well on my Aerosmith round. So I smashed my Aerosmith round, and then I was riding so high on the confidence of that I smashed my general knowledge round as well. And I was so happy that I did well on my Aerosmith questions.
I saw the clip of the Aerosmith section. They were super specific questions, very hard to answer. You got more, I would say 90%, right?
I got
and the ones that you got wrong, they were unfair. It was like
one question was,
which track number is?
Which is the shortest track at 3 minutes and 2 seconds on Night in the Ruts, and I was like, and then I checked, so the incorrect answer and the correct answer, there was only a 19-second difference between them. So I was okay. It's part of the fun.
Yeah. Okay, and I hear that you're also an entrepreneur, that you do banging headlights, and that Mr. Brad Wilford may be interested in getting a couple.
So I have a business. I make headlights for classic cars, and all the guys in the band are into cars, in general, but Brad more than anyone else, and Brad also has a few classic cars. So I would love to get a set of my headlights in one of Brad's classic cars, and just use that as an opportunity to meet him, talk about cars, talk about Aerosmith, talk about guitars. And every time I've met Brad, he has been so super cool. It's always, who's my favorite band member, Steven or Brad?
Yeah, he's very cool. And I'm sure there can be a connection there through Trace or something, or Greg, for you to, you know, actually sell a couple of those lights.
No, free from bad.
All right, and final one. What are we doing here today? What's the purpose of our meeting here in Perth?
So Gonzo wanted to come down to Perth and have a jam and record a few songs. And I told him, you know, so the last time he was here, we did totally without rehearsal, we did an impromptu cover of an extremely rare unreleased Aerosmith song, Bacon Biscuit Blues. And it got so many likes and views on Instagram. So I said, why don't we? And this is an idea I had last year when Aerosmith cancelled their tour, and I planned to do it on my own. But I think it's much more fun when you play with a friend. That when they cancelled that tour, I thought, why don't I do like a short half-an-hour live concert for my friends? And that's what Gonzo and I are going to do. 2 acoustic guitars, 2 vocals, nothing fancy, but we want to do a concert for all our Aerosmith friends. 30 minutes, we're going to play some hits, some rarities, some songs that you do not expect to get played at all, and you know, just make it fun for you guys. So details about that coming in a story later today.
Yeah, and we'll have a few clips of the final live stream on the channel as well, so be sure to check them out.
Yeah, we're doing this just for our Aerosmith friends, so make sure you join in. And we are trying to set it up so that, you know, we can look at the monitor and have some interaction. So if you request a song or something, if you know even 50% of it, we can have a go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have that in the rest of the channel, and your contact information if someone wants to buy a couple of banging headlights.
Bangingheadlights.com.
Oh, that's as simple as that. All right. Well, thank you, my friend. We'll see you with a few more Aerosmith covers and a lot of musical fun. If you want to join, make sure to reach out, because there's always going to be something cooking, a new interesting musical project that you can collaborate and join in. If you have an interface and, you know, some playing capacity, you're welcome to. or a singing voice, or you want to be clapping or doing something interesting in the background, send your parts, reach out.
Or if you look like Alicia Silverstone, we might shoot a proper video.
you can be dancing in the background.
If you look like Alicia Silverstone, get in touch with me directly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Umang, so how you doing tonight?
Well, I think I'm going to play you some Boston Blues.
Oh, I've never heard those. Okay.
That sucked.